Today, we're going to look at the Viltrox 23mm f1.4 lens for the Fuji X Mount system on the Fuji XT4. We'll have a look at photo and video quality. Let's go! There is your sped up unboxing. I'm going to put this on the Fuji X-T4. What we're going to do is I'm going to take some photos. I've been using it for a little bit now. Take some photos, take some videos. We'll go through and look at those photos, look at those videos, and then we'll conclude this unboxing and first look at the Viltrox 23mm f1.4 lens for the Fuji X Mount system. Okay, I wanted to show you some photos to see what this lens can do for photography. All of these shots are straight out of the camera, unedited, no cropping, nothing, just JPEGs from the camera. You can see the information about the EXIF over here. This was taken at f1.4. Get a look at the bokeh, a fairly busy background. Just to give you an idea, at f1.4, this front flower is in focus, and the back flower, which is not too far from it, is not. You can see that there's a pretty serious vignette at f1.4, but I guess you kind of expect that. We'll look at that a little bit more as we go through some of these other photos. This is another example of how thin the depth of field is at f1.4, and an example of the bokeh. So you can look at the bokeh and see if you think that's too busy. To me it looks pretty good, pretty smooth, but I focused just on this flower here. You can see it's kind of in focus. Everything else pretty much out of focus. I wanted to show you again kind of depth of field. This is at f5.6 and ISO 1000, by the way, out of the Fuji X-T4. And you can see the color, the clarity, the detail looks pretty good. Again, the corners not necessarily super sharp even at f5.6, but that's a pretty good looking shot. And now this is at f8, just to give you an idea. And this is at ISO 1600 on the Fuji X-T4. So again, the detail it captures is pretty good. In the center, very sharp. Towards the edges, not so sharp. Even at f8, you can see that that's not necessarily great corner sharpness, but I'm not one that worries too much about corner sharpness. Here's another one. This one was manually focused, taken at f1.4. Again, you can see the background's pretty busy, so gives you an idea on how it renders busy backgrounds. This one just of some blueberries at f1.4, again focused right on this front blueberry. So you can see again how it renders colors. That corner doesn't look too bad. There's no CA in this particular shot, but we will see some. It's fairly well controlled, but it does appear at f1.4. So this is something I did just for corner sharpness. You can see this was taken at f1.4. And you look at the corners here, you can see they're dark and not necessarily as sharp as this next shot will be. So this was taken at f5.6. A little lighter in the corner, a little more detail in the corner as well. But again, I've never worried much about corner sharpness, but I know people do, so I figured I would show you how that looks. And this is another example of that on the left corner. So this is at f5.6. Looks pretty good. And then we'll go to 1.4 here. And so you can see in the corners how it looks. You can also see there's a little bit of chromatic aberration here. You might have to look closely and you might not see it too well on YouTube, but there's some blue fringing and a little bit of green fringing there. But overall I found that the CA was pretty well controlled and I'm impressed with it. Alright, so these are not going to win any awards. None of these photos will. I just wanted to take this one to give you an idea on how the lens renders kind of the light to dark. And I know the dynamic range is part of the camera, but if you look at this one, you can see this is at f8 It's just a picture of a drain. I know it's not the greatest subject, but again, color, clarity, sharpness. This was taken at ISO 160, which is the base ISO on the X-T4. Corners here, so I mean, in this photo you can't, it doesn't seem like the corners look too bad. It's at f8. And I just wanted to show you kind of a flat picture at f1.4. Again, not going to win any awards, but this was shot at f1.4, and you can see very thin depth of field. But I wanted to show you, even in a flat lay situation, at a 23mm, which is a 35mm equivalent, you can still see, you get some bokeh. So this is it's possible to get pretty good bokeh with this lens, as you've seen. This is just another illustration of this. One thing I did notice that's kind of strange is if I'm at or near the minimum focus distance, it doesn't seem to focus well closely. So this had acquired focus. I got the focus confirmation on the X-T4. Clearly you can see that's not in focus. So I took a shot at that same distance. If you look, the framing is the same. And I manually focused it. So I turned it all the way to its minimum focus distance and manually focused. And you can see that this is much more in focus at f1.4. So there's something odd about the close focus distance. Not exactly sure what it is. Again, this is the same, I'm the same distance away. And then this is at f5.6, similar distance, so you can see it's not too bad and the focus seems to be good at f5.6. So I really like this lens so far for color, clarity, sharpness, all those good things. There is a vignette at f1.4. It does lighten up at f5.6 and f8, so again, you kind of expect that. There's a little bit of chromatic aberration, but so far I'm very impressed with the lens. I'll do a full review and we'll keep track of that a little bit more, but let's look at some of the video you can get from this camera. I'll do a vlogging test and then I'll just show you some video of a fountain. Alright, this is a bit of a vlogging test. Sorry if the background's blown out. Probably not going to use this for vlogging. I've got it on a mini tripod, holding it at arm's length. There's IBIS in the X-T4, this on the X-T4. So I'm not sure anybody would use this for vlogging, maybe in a pinch, but it does seem to be tracking my eye. Face and eye detect on. Do a little autofocus test here. Seems to be pretty quick. Grabbing my eye pretty well. So that is the vlog test. I'm going to get some video of the fountain you can probably hear in the background. This is how it looks. This is the standard picture profile on the Fuji X-T4. Autofocus. Little hiccup there. Pretty snappy. Did hiccup once. Alright, let's look at some video of the fountain. Okay, this is at f11 to get the proper exposure. 1/50th on the shutter speed. The sound is coming from the Ceramonic Blink 500. I've used this in quite a few videos now. Seems to do a really, really good job. Great wireless system if you're looking for something like the Wireless Go from Rode. This one actually has 2 transmitters to 1 receiver, so you can have 2 people mic'd up. Let's see how the autofocus works. Focused on the fountain, the tap to focus. Now focus on that tree. Move back to the fountain. Should be auto-focusing on the tree, but I'm going to pull it to the tree. Let's see if it focuses back on the fountain. Standard picture profile, Fuji X-T4. I saw the autofocus test on my face. I used this number one setting for autofocus, which is the standard kind of general purpose As you can hear the birds in the background. This does have IBIS, so it might be a little bit jittery, but that's the camera, not the lens. Center focus point. I can't tell what's in focus, to be honest. We'll have to look at it. And get back to the studio. But there is your video. Well, I really hope you enjoyed that unboxing and first look at the Viltrox 23mm f1.4 lens for the Fuji system on my X-T4. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. If you do subscribe, please click on that bell icon, and that will allow you to be notified whenever we go live or have a new video. I will talk at you again in the next video.